My name is Reverend Canon Hassan John from the Anglican Diocese of Jos, and I am applying for scholarship to study Certificate in Theological Studies in Oxford. Now, I am going to be talking about why does God allow suffering. Let me quickly state that the matter here is that God allows suffering and not that He creates or created suffering. So therefore, God did not create suffering. He allows it, and we shall see shortly, for so many reasons. Now, let us also quickly note that suffering was created by man according to the scriptures in Genesis, where man disobeyed God, and therefore there were repercussions. And these repercussions affected not just man, but nature itself. A lot of things changed quickly after that. Now, suffering also can be put into different contexts or perspective depending on communities and societies and people based on their thought of what suffering really is. And let me give you a quick example. A young boy, 10 years old, in the village in Africa, who wakes up before sunrise and has to walk 3 hours to a farmland where he uses a small hoe to till the ground and plant his maize or corn, and waits 6 months to harvest what he has planted. And he comes home excited that he's been able to put food on the table. And now we take also another young boy, 10 years old, who sits in an urban home in front of his computer and has to work hours into the night to simply find an equation and solve a mathematical problem. And through the period of test, he's happy to present his test result to his parents to say he has passed his mathematics. Now, two different contexts, but both are happy with what they do, but perhaps those of us looking from outside might consider the suffering they have to go through in quotes of in our explanation to what this is. But suffering can be seen in two perspectives. It can be negative and it can also be positive, because Rick Warren says, and may I quickly quote, he says, God intentionally allows you to go through painful experience to equip you the ministry to others in the purpose-driven church. And also we do know that Romans chapter 5 verse 3 to 4 says, sorrows may tarry for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And James also did say that it is this suffering that equips us for who we are. I mean, it brings out our character. If we therefore consider suffering as a positive thing, and the process of going through the pains and the challenges that brings out a happy result, then we will say that indeed, by human nature, there are pains we must go through. A woman who carries pregnancy for 9 months goes into labor, excruciating pain, but after the birth of a child, she's excited that she has given birth to life. When we look at also the negative aspect of suffering, which indeed I must quickly add that is created by man, we will say also that when you look at the corruption in our societies, where simple basic amenity like drinking water or electricity is denied because some other people have siphoned the resources for their personal use, or that when people are in struggle for power, they create chaos and create mayhem and create death on the streets, and many people get killed, their homes and livelihood destroyed simply because somebody wants to stay in power. Now, remember, like I said earlier on, that this is created by man and not by God. Does God allow it? Perhaps He does. Will He stop it? I don't think He will, simply because I don't think God is now in the business of creating a utopia for man, because man must take responsibility for his actions, because every action would have like the physicists say, an opposite and equal reaction, and therefore we must live by the consequences of our actions. I also do think that I believe when you look at the example of northern Nigeria, where there are Christians that are killed every day by other insurgents, Islamic sects, who believe that they are pushing the agenda of a God, and many people will have to pay the price for their belief in sanitizing, in quotes, or cleaning their society. Then we do have challenges there. But like I did earlier mention, that this suffering is created by man, by ideologies, by beliefs of people who create pains and suffering for their fellow human beings. And I do not think God is in the business of coming to snuff the barrel of every gun, or refusing or stopping the detonation of an IED and things like that. These are issues where men have to meet and solve the solutions. But let me also quickly add here that we also do know that societies have advanced, that today the world has gone astronomical in every sphere of life, because people have learned to make things better, to create a better society, to make communication faster, to make traveling easier and safe. And because of the past where we come from, because of experiences, and because of so many issues, we do see that God has given us the capacity to be able to meet with these issues and these challenges that are before us. And of course, suffering brings out our character. A man who reaches out to help another man in pain, a woman who reaches out to her neighbor, brings out the God and the Christ in us. It brings out who we are as human beings. The experience in Nepal, where countries, organizations, and lots of people have reached out to others who are in pain, have reached out to others who have been able to, who have not been able to help themselves in this crisis, in this chaos, shows who we are as people, as human beings. And I do hope and pray that we understand that suffering can both be negative or positive, depending on our context, depending on our understanding, and indeed how we look at it. Thank you very much.